Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of AngularAir. I'm your host, Justin Schwarzenberger, and as always, we've got another exciting topic to cover today. I'm really excited about this because we're talking clean code, container presenter pattern. I'm always down with thinking about and learning about clean code and trying to practice that in any type of code development I do. So pretty excited to get into it. Let's meet our panelists, and then we'll say hi to our guests, and we'll get rolling. Joining us today, we have Alyssa. Alyssa, how's it going?
Hey, so glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Mike's with us. Mike, what's going on?
Not too much. Happy hump day.
It is. We're halfway through the week. Well, I guess is Wednesday like the halfway for everybody? I guess it depends on when you start your weekday or your week, right? Is it Sunday?
I'm going to be a little selfish. It's halfway through my week, so I'm good. It's halfway through.
All right.
It's all about my context.
Sounds good. Plus, you got the Geico commercial with the camel name and Mike and everything. So, like, that's going for you, too. So, I feel it. Cool. All right. And our guest today joining us is Kate Skye. Kate, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks for sharing your time. We're super excited to have you. Do you want to tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a full stack developer. I do consulting full time. I am lucky to stick through my current contract with COVID and everything. And my favorite thing right now is Angular, and I am pretty experienced developer in Angular, and I have some tips for everyone today to share.
Before we get started, I have a new favorite thing. It's the Baby Yoda drawing behind you. That's awesome.
You like it?
I do.
That's my favorite too.
I approve.
Are we
Did you draw
enough
that? That's awesome.
Are we far enough out from Mandalorian season 1 to be able to like talk about it without spoilers? I think we are, right?
I'm not saying we talk about the show. I'm just saying I appreciate the drawing. And to know that there's that character in that show, I don't think is a spoiler.
Perfect.
Like Darth Vader's in some Star Wars movies.
There you go.
Yeah, I think my daughter would appreciate your comment, Mike. She's really proud of that drawing.
It's awesome. What else do you have back there?
I have my kids were supposed to come and say hi. I don't know what they're waiting for. I don't know. It's 1:03. I don't know. Maybe they'll show up any minute to say hi.
Nice. Well, we will welcome them and say hi as soon as they do.
Yeah, if they interrupt me, that's okay. They do that all the time.
Nice. All right, so we're talking clean code today.
Yeah, we're going to talk about clean code.
Awesome. Shall we get into it?
All right, let's get started. Hopefully we don't get interrupted too much because there are a bunch of them. So there are like 4 of them would just kind of pile in. So I apologize in advance.
We will be excited to see them, and it'll all work as part of the show. It'll be great.
All right. I am going to share now.
All right, looks good. We see the slide.
Okay. So today I'm going to talk about clean code and clean Angular components. And my promise here is that once you start utilizing at least some of the points that I'm about to show you, that you'll have cleaner code, you will deliver your software faster, and the quality will be better. So that's kind of my topic today. And I'd like to talk a little bit about why it's important to have clean code. So on any of our projects, we're asked to deliver features fast and quality, and it has to be quality. And to do that, it's important to write clean code and to avoid some of the anti-patterns. One of them is single responsibility violation, also nested logic structures, and hidden state. And in today's presentation and also in my demo, I will show how to do that with container presenter pattern, which is one of the main pieces that I'm going to talk about today. And we'll set a foundation on how to do that. So this is going to be our topic is container presenter pattern. And the reason I want to talk about it is because we have to in our application we have to do some state management, but before we start and write an application with NGRX, for example, for state management, I think it's important to set up a base for inner code. And when we write clean code, gives us that ability to easily add NGRX on top of it. And what we want to avoid is having mixed concern components with a lot of lines of code that are hard to maintain and also hard to test. And when you have smaller components with less code and you follow this pattern, you will have just a faster way of even finding little bugs or maintaining your code or adding features. So that's what we're kind of going to talk about today. That's my promise. So so this is a little picture I drew for a complexity pyramid, and in this slide, I just wanted to kind of show you that when you have a good foundation from Angular.io and you go through the tour of heroes, it's good to know how to use Angular. It's a good start, but unfortunately for production-ready code, you're going to have to dig deeper. And container presenter is kind of like a first step towards added complexity to your application. So when you have, for example, a couple of features in your Angular application, you're probably not ready to add NGRX, but you want to get there eventually. If you know that this is going to be, for example, enterprise application, and there's going to be 20 plus feature, NGRX will give you that flexibility of tracking the user experience, also maintaining the state of the application. But before you get there, if you build a foundation with writing clean code with container presenter pattern, as well as NGRX and service with a subject, you are almost there. Like, it's going to be so easy to swap out a service with a subject with NGRX. And I will show you how to do that. And that's kind of why, if I switch to my next slide, you'll see that I'm putting those three in kind of the same section of this pyramid. And that's what I'm going to show in my demo. I think it's going to be a lot easier to just get a grasp of how to break our components into smaller pieces, how to send data between the container and presenter containers with RxJS, and also using service with the subject to manage that state. So you're going to have a pretty fun demo for me on that. So before we get to the demo, I'm going to talk a little bit about a container. And container is, so for container, I just want to give a little analogy here. This is basically a top level feature. And if I take my home as an application, for example, I am going to be the top level component or a feature as a parent, right? And I'm pretty much, in charge of all of the I can manage all of the pieces within the household. And my children are going to be my child components or presenter components, as in this analogy. And I'm going to be in charge of, shopping or, going to work or checking their homework. So I'm going to be that top level component, and I'm going to be, so that's what in application is called smart component. Okay. So container will interact with the API service. It will have it injected into the constructor. Or if you are using NGRX, it will be, your store will be injected in a constructor. Container passes data to child components via the input parameters, input binding. And when we use observables, it will async pipe that data into the presenter components. It also receives event from the child presenter components via the events. And I will show you how to do that. And it will do all the decision making on the events and data that it manipulates within that container. So that's the container piece of it. Any questions? If not, I can.
I'm so excited.
Not a question, but I like the analogy of like the parent, like an actual parent to a child, to delegate. The idea of, all right, the container / parent has the responsibility and hands things off to the child or presenter.
Exactly, you got it. All right, so we'll move on to.
I have one question too.
Oh,
for you.
sure. Yeah, go ahead.
In terms of like thinking, like, let's say you get certain data back from the API service, right? And it's structured with a lot of properties on it, but your child component only needs a couple of them. Would we also maybe at this point map down that data before we hand it to the input, so that the child component would kind of dictate, I only need these 2 pieces of data?
Well, I think containers should be responsible of getting that data, not necessarily maybe mapping it inside the container. Maybe the service will be smart enough to already do the mapping, and the container will have a handle on that data, and it would get passed to the child component still via a sync pipe or input parameter. Yeah, but that's the main point. Yep.
Cool. Thank you.
Anything else? All right. I will go to the next one, next slide. So here I'm just giving a quick example of imperative style of calling a service. Here I have a podcast service injected into the constructor of my app component, which in this example serves as a container component. This is where we subscribe to the HTTP call, and we get the data, and it's console logged into our console here. And in my demo, I will use the reactive example where we actually have the service is still injected in the constructor. The only difference is we call a service that already executes the call to the API, and it sends us an observable, and we would subscribe it in this way via the subject with the service with the behavior subject, property. And we would async pipe it onto inside the template. So this is that's what I will use inside my demo. All right, so that's about the container. That's just a little quick note. So now we're going to talk about presenter, which we kind of touched it already. In my parent analogy, these are my children. They know how to, for example, my children know how to set the table for breakfast. They're going to know how to set it for lunch and dinner. So a lot of times these are going to be reusable components within an application. But they're not smart enough to go to the API. They don't know any business logic. So that's where we want to protect our the logic structures. We want to keep it within the container, and our presenter components will only be used to present the data, make it pretty, maybe have something that's happening within the presenter component, but it's not going to call the API, or it's not going to call this, the store. It's all of the decisions are going to be made inside the container. So I don't want my children to go, grocery shopping until they're old enough to drive, for example, when they become that main feature, right? So until they've grown and have a driver's license, they're still a child component. They're still could do the presenting, not the actual feature of an application, if we go back there. So the data is received via the input binding from the parent or the container component in this way. It displays it, makes it pretty, and all of the events that happen within that component are raised and emitted via the event emitter. All of the decisions are deferred to the container component, and we want to strive to make those presenter components reusable. So when we have, for example, an enterprise monorepo, for example, this would probably be a good place to put them, like in the UI shareable library, right? So if they can't be shared, then they could still be extracted into smaller components. So the unit testing of those components is going to be, piece of cake. You don't have to mock any services or anything. You just set your inputs, set your outputs. It's super easy to test because there's no dependencies for these presenter components. All right. Let's see.
Real quick,
Yeah.
when we're talking about this, so for the reusability, and you're talking about no knowledge of stores or services, so the container would not only be responsible for passing data in, but also handling any events through the event emitters within the presenter as well, correct?
Correct. The presenter component will emit the event with whatever data changed, and the container will process that data and do any necessary calls to the APIs or to NGRX store or whatnot.
Okay, and that what that does then is it promotes the reusability of those components, because all you have to worry about is, hey, shove stuff in, shove data in, and then tell me when something happens.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yep.
I dig it.
Okay, awesome. All right, let's see what's next. Oh, okay, so we're almost close to the demo. That's awesome. So one of the things that Container Presenter helps us with is clean code. It doesn't solve completely, some other anti-patterns that we talked about, like, for example, the hidden state, right? If we don't make it right within our service, then it's, you still could make some mistakes. And if you have some complex state management, then you kind of have to think, is it good investment to invest into NGRX at this point or not? And but the main point is writing clean code not only makes it pretty and you like to look at somebody's nice code, it also speeds up your development in terms of adding new functionality. Your unit tests are going to be easier to write. And a lot of times in companies, we don't write unit tests because our solutions are just so complex. Everything is mixed in together. The business logic is buried within different components, and it's just impossible to write unit tests. So when you decide to write unit tests, if you follow this pattern, you're kind of already on your way to just better application. That's
So if you did have like a hodgepodge of Angular going on and you were like, hey, we need to do the container presenter pattern, is it something that you can implement like as you go, or is it like a rewrite?
Well, here's how I like to do this. If I see a big component, I look at it and I go, which piece of this commented code, you look at the HTML, there's comments like this piece does this, and you scroll. I'm going to take one of the comments, the the easiest piece that I think I understand 100%, and I'll pull it out into a child component. And I will show you how to do that in my demo. I kind of have a demo right around it. And I will just go small pieces. If I can't break everything apart because it's tech debt, right? How much money is the product owner is going to pay for tech debt? Depends on the company. Not everybody wants to pay that debt all the time. So if I'm within my estimates, I will do a little bit at a time. So
I love that. I can't wait to see this demo.
All right. I think this is going to be my last slide. Let's see. Yeah, it is. Well, my 13-year-old, she said, Mom, you have such a lame presentation. Why don't you put my picture in it? I should have. I didn't. I don't know why. I didn't have any good pictures to put in. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to switch to Visual Studio Code, unless you have any other questions before we move on.
We do have a great question from the chat. It's about identifying how we can identify if we end up with dependency issues, but maybe we can talk about that as you go through the demo and kind of talk about that. Like, how do you be aware of potential dependency issues as you're building these things out?
Okay. All right, let's try that. Okay. All right. Share. Okay, looks like. All All right, can you see my VS Code purple style?
Oh, I love it. What is this theme?
Yeah, this is Peacock
Hmm.
extension.
I'm like going to change mine right now.
If you like the color, you got to look at the bottom. There's the purple. Okay, so we are going to so I have GitHub repo for this. It is, do you want me to paste it into the chat real quick? Oops.
That would be awesome.
Okay, let me see real quick if I can do this without messing up too much. No, this is the stack blitz. All right, here we go. Okay, almost there. All right, so we're going to create a new branch. Let me know if my keyboard is super loud. Okay.
I personally like hearing the clickety clackety.
Yeah.
A lot of our viewers might.
Yeah, I love it. Is it mechanical or is it just a normal keyboard?
I don't know. I think it's a normal. Let's see. I'll just do.
I like how you classify it as normal or abnormal.
It's normal to me. It's a regular keyboard.
Well, I think most people have like not mechanical mics, so that's why I was just going with the average.
Yeah,
you know?
well, maybe people who use mechanical think that's the normal, and you're abnormal for not using it.
I know. What kind of keyboard is this? Like the basic one you can get?
Mike, do you have a mechanical? Do you need to confess something, Mike?
No, I actually do not have a mechanical keyboard.
Okay.
My name is Kate, and I have a mechanical keyboard.
I've been trying to get Mike to get on the mechanical keyboard, but yeah.
Oh, Shorty, you're in that camp. Can we see it?
Ergonomics,
I want to see it, Shorty.
mechanical.
Okay, I'm gonna try not knock everything down here as I do this. I got like chords on chords on chords, but
I'm like, can you please disassemble everything? Oh, it even glows. Shut up.
I know. It's my gaming keyboard, so kind of.
You guys, wow. I'm super boring. Mine is like not ergonomical or mechanical.
Goodbye.
God.
You've been voted off of Nerd Island.
All right, I think I probably should run this real quick before I do anything else. All right, let's see if we do ngserf. What happens? Hopefully it starts something. And then I'll kind of go through the code and we'll start refactoring it, okay?
I love it.
Okay. I know I did npm install on this already. Compiling. Well, I didn't compile it. That's one thing I didn't do. All right, come on. Of course, it's going to take forever to do it now. Oh, and I'm sharing only my windows. I need to share where it's going to pop up. Right?
Like the whole desktop?
Probably, yeah. Or like another window.
So you use the terminal in VS Code, eh? I haven't like ever gotten comfortable with it. I always just pop open my own terminal.
Oh, yeah? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I'm stuck with it.
I feel like it'd be easier if I did it, but I'm always like, oh, but what if it can't do all the things? It's just as powerful, right? Like it's just the same. Oh.
Sometimes my Git commands don't work in it. Then I have to switch to Bash outside of it. But I don't know. Come on, why is it taking too long? No, I have it. Let's see if we do stack blitz today.
It knows that you're alive. It's just a thing. Like it knows.
All right. I'm going to share my other thing while it's doing that. Okay. Chrome tab. Stack blitz. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh. Is it going? Can you see it? No, it's not sharing. Oh, there we go.
I had to click the button. Sorry.
Oh, that's
My
okay.
fault. There
It's
it is.
okay. I'll just move it over here so I can. All right. So this is a little example app. I just took the Get Started guide and I kind of broke it up into being a little wine shop
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
because I don't have a drinking problem.
I was going to get excited about the wine shop, but maybe I shouldn't.
You can only show like a certain level of excitement for the wine shop, right? The appropriate amount of excitement.
All right, so the styling is all stolen from the Get Started guide. So it just has some clicks to add the items to a little cart that I have over here. When I click on it, just keeps adding it. And another piece up here is like a little cart with a number of items in my shopping cart. So if I look, so right now I have one component. It's an app component. It has an HTML code that has everything in it. It even has hard-coded items to my wine list. So I want to break this up, and I want to show you how I kind of go through doing that. My plan is to take out the toolbar into one component, take the list of wines into the list component, and I had to grab the term. And this little piece over here, which is kind of a representation of cart, which is up down here, will be another component. And I will show how our main component will communicate with all three of those components. And as I promised before, what I want to do is I want to start out with the service where my data is going to be fetched and then how it's going to be displayed throughout the app. Okay.
Sounds good. Kate, can you zoom in a bit?
This is Stack Blitz. That's why you probably can't see
it. Might have reset or something. Yeah.
Well, this is Stack Blitz.
Okay, cool.
This is huge.
Perfect.
Oh, it's a little better.
I think that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's about 85 lines of code with all the white spaces and everything. This is a little Angular stuff that just comes with the, with the Get Started app. So let's see how much smaller we can make it, how much cleaner we can make it by doing some refactoring. So let's see how okay. So the compile worked. Okay, let's see if I can. Okay, I'm going to stop this one and share the compiled code. It actually finished. All right. Oh, here we go. Can you see it? Oh, it's still loading. 1 second. I think we're frozen. Are we frozen or no?
I see your browser. It looks like the browser.
Okay.
For the app itself running.
All right, perfect. So yeah, same app that we just showed in Stack Blitz. So it works. It has the little counter at the top. And if we click on the cart, just my wines disappear. All right, it goes back to 0. So little shopping cart experience, very simple. But my goal here is to make it a little cleaner. So that's what I'm going to show, okay? Back to here. Any questions before I move on to refactoring?
I am ready for the refactor.
Okay.
Let's clean up that technical debt.
Pay your debt or else.
We're giving you a carte blanche budget to do refactoring, so all the time you need.
Okay, let me find my screen. Where is it? This guy. How do I? Sorry, I have so many things I need to. Oh, there we go. All right, here we go. All right, so I'm going to stop it, and we are going to get started. All right, my first, what I'm going to do first is I am going to import into my app module, HTTP client module, because I want to show you how to use a service with like an HTTP client call. Okay, it's going to be mock data, but nevertheless, it's a little fun thing I want to show. Okay. doesn't want to give me any hints, so I'm going to copy over the import. All right, so this is going to import my HTTP client so I can create my service. So I'm going to generate a service called data service, a great name, in the services folder. And
Don't know what I would do without the CLI. Just saying.
well, imagine working on a project that doesn't use CLI. Feel my pain. It's so yeah, I'm loving doing this demo right now. So let's see this data. So when we first we're gonna look at this this code, and let's look at the main components. So we know that we're going to add items to some cart list, and we're also going to remove items from this list. And right now we don't have a list because it's all hard coded. It's so just kind of like a cart item list right here. So we are going to first think how we can create a data service with all of the pieces that we're going to need. So first we are going to need our data. Our test data is going to live inside here. We're going to create a little folder called test data. Yeah. And we're going to create a little file called, what are we going to call it? We're going to call it test data. Yes. No? What are we going to call it? Oh, we're going to call it wine list. That's what I wanted to call it. That's a wine list. All right. And I'm going to copy my wines here. All right, so now we have kind of our API, sort of, kind of. And so we know that our data service needs to go get this data. So we need to inject our HTTP client here. So let's do that. Private HTTP client. Oops, HTTP client. File. Okay. Thank you. All right, we're going to create a quick method that does our get data. It's going to go and fetch our data inside our wine list JSON. I'm just copying it over from my cheat sheet. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're actually subscribing to this get. So as soon as you subscribe to HTTP GET, it actually goes and gets the data. So we know once we subscribe, we will get the data from our wine list. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a list that represents a list of our wines. And we are going to create a behavior subject for that list. And it's going to create an observable, and we can do .next on it. So whoever subscribes to getting this list of wines will get it automatically after they call this method. Another thing that we know this service should do is it should have kind of a cart items list. And one of the recommended ways of getting a list of items that should be that the state should be only contained within the service is creating a private subject, behavior subject, and then exposing an observable to that subject outside of your service. So I'm going to do that to save time, just pasting it. So basically, this is a subject that is going to update our cart items, and whoever subscribes to cart items will get that back to the template. We also have, let's see, we'll fix some white spaces. We also have an add to list requirement and remove from list. So we're going to straight away add those two methods. I'm going to fast forward to the magic copy paste, and I'll just explain those two methods. So add cart right here, it will push this item into the internal cart items property, which I don't have yet. And I will add it right now. And it will do a .next on the cart item subject and it will do a little spread operator. So it creates a new object of this list. So if you have an async pipe to this list, you will automatically get it. All right, so we kind of have our API ready to go. We have the state of our cart items in a in the private way that can only get updated throughout the service with the add to cart or remove from cart methods. We have a list that's getting from the API get data. So now let's plug it in, and then we'll break up the our components into 3 little pieces, as I promised. Hopefully we're doing good on time. I don't know. How are we doing on time? Because I feel like I'm talking too much.
Yeah, we have about 20 minutes remaining. So
all right, so I'm going to do a lot of pasting just so we go fast. All right, so let's see. We are, let's see here. All right, so we're going to take this. We are going to create a construct. Let's see. All right, so we are going to add our data service here. So we're injecting our data service into the constructor. So in this example, our app component is going to be our container component, and the little pieces that we're going to break out are going to be our presenter components. So we want to get the data on the construction of this component, and then we are going to create an observable variable that will be we'll be getting it from the service, from this observable variable that we created up in our service. So if we take this and we do like a sync pipe to that, it's already going to work, but we're going to move on just to save time. So right now, let's go ahead and create our header, list, and cart. Let's see. I'm going to generate our header real quick. I'm going to generate our list. I want to go a lot faster. I think I spent a little bit too much time on the service.
So you've now taken the logic for loading the data and encapsulated it in a service, so that then now this component, the container component, is not responsible for that. It's just responsible for wiring up and using that service.
Correct.
And then now you're going to show getting it to.
Yeah, so I want to take, like I created a header component. So I want to take this markup right here from my app component. I can go like this. I put it in my header component. And now I have the presentation of my little cart in a separate component. So I just need to put an input parameter for total inside my header component, right? So I'm going to do input total number. Oops. Okay, that worked. So now in here, instead of this big chunk of code, we're going to do
So at this point, you just saw toolbar and you're like, this will make the perfect, like its own perfect little component. Let's plop it out. Like that's how you decided where to draw the line.
Yeah, I wanted to see which pieces can go in this, as a separate unit. So this is going to be responsible for just the header piece. It's going to display the little cart with a little number. It could be a separate component, could be tested separately. It just needs a little total. Like it's very simple. It could have a single responsibility of showing just the total for your cart items. Right now we don't have cart items. We're going to add them real quick. Cart items. No, we have them here. Okay, so now we have cart items up in the header. So now, what this is. So now we have a cart. So one other thing that we need to do is we need to place all the CSS from app component into header, because of the CSS encapsulation. It's going to, it's not going to render nicely if we don't do that. I'm going to save time and just do that real quick. So we don't have any events coming from the header. It just has this one little total. That's about it. So let's go on to the list. So our list component. Oh, another thing I wanted to say real quick in here in the header component, we can now use a change detection strategy on push, because we know that the little total will come through input, and input will tell Angular to update the template. So we're optimizing our Angular application to be more performant, right?
I think that's an excellent point, and I appreciate you going back and pointing that out.
We can actually do all throughout our new components. We're going to use them. I'll use this change detection strategy. Go ahead.
One thing that's pretty cool about as you break these things down, you just talked about the styles and bringing the styles over for that thing. That's one of the areas where you start to identify dependency issues when you built your code out, right? Because as soon as you bring that over and you see, oh, well, these styles, how are they tightly coupled? Are they just for this one chunk or for the entire thing? And so as you break that out, you identify that. But then you also, when you go to reuse that new presenter component in another place, it becomes very apparent that is there something missing that it needed that the parent was dictating that now you really should be within the presenter so that it could be reused other places?
Oh, absolutely. I think styles encapsulation is one of the weakest points when you don't have it enabled in your application, because when you have styles come in with a component, you're completely independent of your container, and the dependencies. If you need that dependency, it must go into like your style CSS, right? Your top level style. This way, your presenter component is going to be styled every time the same way. So yeah, that's a good point.
The other cool thing is that with this header component, you brought it in. Originally, that chunk was using an object and a property off the object to display the total. And now that got even simpler, right? Because all you needed was an input with a single name. So you also reduce complexity by doing the refactor. That's another awesome value out of it, right?
Yep. Actually, another thing, we can remove the generated implement here. We don't need it anymore. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we're going to, oops, what do I want to do? Okay, so for the list, we're going to add our input. So on the list, I know we have an input, we have, let's see, we have an output. Output is going to, for when we add an item, we're going to emit event to our parent component. So our list now just needs the list that we had here in the cart. We're going to remove it here. We're going to, let's see if I can do this. All right, so we can do list. So this one is showing the list, so we can do list. Oh, I need quotes. Okay, sync. All right, so now we just passed in a list into our list component, and now we need to subscribe to the event of add event. I get nice help here. Is it add? And need to do this. Oh, that's not how it goes. I need to do here. Oh, event goes with this way. All right, like this. So in order to get the actual value into the method, when we emit add event from this list component, we need to put a $ in front of it. Okay, so now we have the add list here. Do we have stuff here? We don't. I just deleted it. That's okay. I have a cheat sheet here, so I'm going to go like this. So let's go through here real quick. So we have an ng4 now to the list that gets passed in from our parent component. We ng4 through it, and we unclick with add an item. And when add item is called, we know we are going to emit an event, and our parent component will catch it. So let's just clean this up real quick. We'll clean this up. So we have list, and then we have one more. Let's see, we'll do our beautiful CSS here. And we have just one more for this piece. Do we have time for this, or should we just do a demo now and see? Do we have time to refactor this little piece here?
I think so.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
so.
All
Let's
right,
do it.
awesome. Okay, so we just need to create one more cart component. All right. All right, so now we have cart. Our little cart component is going to have, I think it's going to have all that in here. So we can just copy paste. So that's how I get started, right? I just copy paste it into here and I see what I need. If Angular is nice to me today, then it's going to show me all the missing pieces. Sometimes it's not. Today it is.
If you go back to the template real quick, sorry.
Sure.
So you said you see what you need to fix. So shout out to the Angular service, Angular language service, for identifying what properties are needed within the template that are not being supplied by the component.
Absolutely. Shout out. Yes, for sure. Okay, so here I have an index from the list that I'm passing through to my remove method. So I know which item to remove from the list, and I need a remove method. I can get rid of my on init, and I can also do my little
On change.
change the
Yeah.
text.
So the two things are missing is the remove and the list, you said?
Yes. Thank you. All right. So list. You know too. Yeah, it's going to know. It's going to be a list of strings.
I like the pair programming we got going on right now.
No, right? We got to speed it up.
No, it's going well.
I love it.
Event. Yeah. All right. Perfect. So now we just need a remove method. We need an index. Does it like the index? Okay. Now we're going to do this. Remove event. Oops. Event. Okay. Doesn't like not having white spaces. All right, I think that's all we need here. Let's check our template. Okay, this is good. Let's add our new part. We have here a list. I need square brackets. I like to put everything in square brackets. All right, I think this one goes for cart items, so we're going to do sync. And we're going to have remove event. Thank you, Angular. Remove. Yeah, okay. Check it out. What we got here. All right. I know we don't have CSS for this guy, do we? Oh, this one has it. This one has it. Does this one have it? No. Okay, let's put some CSS in here, make it pretty. All right. I know that usually I would go and see what I need to clean up here. I'm just going to copy paste this in here. It already has most of the things cleaned up, but not everything. All right, so let's go through this. What do we got? We got add event. We got remove. Oh, you know what we're missing? We're missing a call to the data service for add and remove. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to call our data service here. Oops. Data service. Add to cart. Item. And here, I'm going to do a data service. Remove from cart. We're going to give it to Max. All right, so now all our logic is encapsulated within data service, which is getting data from the data service, sending it all the stuff that needs to be changed into it, and hopefully everything works. But let's check out this template right now. We started out with like 84 lines of code, right? So we're going to clean this up, style it a little bit, clean some white spaces, get rid of this. We don't like, I mean, I don't know who likes comments in their template. I think if you need to have comments, then you probably can break up something in your component into smaller pieces.
I always do, but it's just because I'm really like ADHD. So I get distracted really easily and I get confused. I'm like, wait, what was that? So if I know it's super stupid, but I always do. Do you guys, what do you guys do, Justin and Mike?
I tend to agree that if you have to add comments, then it's an identifier that you could potentially refactor.
Cool.
I usually try and think about like the naming conventions for things, right? When I name my components and things like that, like, can you read it? If you read it, does it make sense of like here, app list, app cart? Like that's pretty apparent of what that is. So it kind of tells me enough from reading the code of what I'm looking at. But then cases where sometimes you have some complexity in your UI where you have some conditionals or something and it's business logic or something like that you need to kind of capture for the next person down the road, or you step away for 3 months and have to come back and debug that and understand what you're looking at. So different cases, I'll have comments in there to help kind of jog my memory when I get back to it, or other developers to help them guide them on what's being done here. Yeah,
it's definitely not black and white, right? Sometimes you have to do what you have to do. All right, we do have 3 extra components here, and I'm not afraid of adding extra components. You know what? If I expand my components folder and I see 3 extra components, but it makes my overall code nice and clean, I don't mind. I'll have separate tests for these. If I use some cool third-party tools like NX, I can do builds that are in the cloud, whatnot. But right now, it's okay. It will run all the tests and all of my components separately.
Speaking of which, we've got 7 minutes till the top of the hour, so we need to update all the tests.
Yeah, let's do all the tests, but maybe next time. We are going to try it and see if we broke anything, if it still works. Because refactoring without unit tests, you're really not refactoring, you're just rewriting it. That's usually what people say about refactoring. But I call it refactoring. Let's imagine we had unit tests for a big component. Okay. All right, let's see. I will have to stop sharing that and start sharing something else because I don't think there's a switch. Creative.
One of the other benefits of doing like this refactor and thinking about this pattern, the container presenter pattern, is that once you have the presenters, now you have a way to, whether you use something like components in isolation, like Storybook or something like that, or even in your app, you can now work that and kind of get all that going without worrying about the data piece, because you're really just handing it the data you need so you can stage out that data.
Yes, it's super easy to mock data to a component that doesn't have dependencies, for sure. All right,
and that's that decoupling, right, that happens. Like if we have a monolithic component that's doing all that, then you're responsible for prepping that entire component just to see the stuff in action. But now you can see all those pieces separately. It's great.
Yes. All right, so the moment of truth. Let's see if I can get my wine in my cart. Okay, I'm getting something in my cart. My number is changing. Let's see if I can remove. I think I have too much Chianti in here. All right. Still working. All right. Awesome. Looks like it's working. I think it's a success.
Yay!
Yay to me. I'm so happy I didn't break it. That's all I have, guys. I think this will be a wrap for me for my demo. And I hope I convinced you today to write cleaner code, and you can use this pattern for your development. And cleaner code means faster development, better features, more money for the company and yourself, because you're going to be so awesome if you do it.
And more reusability.
Absolutely.
I really like to the point that everybody brought in terms of like, think about this when you build new stuff, but you can also do this in a refactor, right? And you can make your way to this. So if you already have components that are very complex, you can kind of do it a piece off here and there and get to this kind of pattern. And once you kind of understand, have that thinking about this type of architecture, right? Then you just start applying it, and it's a powerful tool.
That's right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all your help.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, let's do some picks real quick if anybody has any picks, and then we'll wrap it up.
Oh, I got some picks.
Creepy picks.
Here are my little picks. You guys are just on time. So this is Masha. Say hi, Masha.
Hi.
Hi. All right, they brought me some more pictures from my wall.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
my mother's picture.
Very nice.
Okay, and Tihan, come over here. Say hi into mic. He likes to talk into the mic. Say hi. Say hi.
Hi.
Good job.
Hi. How's it going?
I got a little picture here too from him. My wall will never be empty again. My older two are coming. Is Sasha and Anfisa coming? No, they're two.
That's Sasha and that's Anfisa's.
All right. Thank you, guys. See you later. Let me
Best picks ever.
Yeah.
finish. Best picks ever.
That's awesome.
I guess that was my picks.
There you go. All right, Alyssa, Mike, do you have any picks this week? Somebody does. All right, Mike, how about you first?
I didn't want to step on Alyssa's toes.
No, you got this.
I have two. So TypeScript 3.9 was just released yesterday. So go and check that out. I haven't gone through the feature set myself. I have it up to read. But yeah, go ahead and check out TypeScript 3.9. 3, right? Yeah. All right. Yes. And my other one is yourself. Take care of yourself. What we're going through now with this whole pandemic is stressful. Find an outlet, find something to do to take your mind off of things, whether or not that's reading a book, watching a TV show, a movie, going for a walk, playing video games, whatever it is. Find an outlet and get through it.
Or taking a drive and listening to your emo music really loud. That always does it for me.
All right, big share. Okay, we've got music pick coming up from Alyssa.
I've been trying to play Stranded Deep. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's kind of like a survivalist video game. It came out on Xbox, but I think it's on PC as well. But it's been fun. But the only gripe I have is that it's not multiplayer. So I don't really like surviving alone in the wilderness.
What? Alone is my favorite show. That's my dream, to go on a deserted island and be by myself.
You're like on an island. Kate's like, this is my jam.
Bring 10 items with you.
I also wanted to say thank you, Kate, for coming on. You have inspired me, and I really, people were saying in the chat they could listen to this forever. I really could. I love watching you code, and I love hearing you explain things. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. And Mike and Justin.
Awesome.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you. Well, Kate, do you have any picks that you want to share?
Yeah, I was going to say that Alone is actually one of my favorite shows, and I just watched the last season with my kids, and which, I don't know, we just love it. I don't know why. It's just mind-blowing how they, kill moose and catch fish through the ice. I don't know, just probably because I will never do that in my life. This is why I'm fascinated by it. I'm always surrounded by people.
All right, well, Kate, like Alyssa said, thanks so much. We really appreciate you sharing your time and coming on the show and sharing your knowledge and helping us learn about this stuff. So thank you very, very much.
Is that a hand raise or a wave, Mike?
No, it's a hand raise. Justin, do you have any picks there, my friend?
Mike, I was going to slide out with no picks.
Well, not today, you're not.
He's trying to be sneaky.
I'm trying.
I already thanked our guest. That's a wrap. Next time I'll have a pick.
Okay, that's fine. I wanted to give you your stage, your platform, my man.
I appreciate that. But yeah, Kate, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Very happy to have you on, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
All right, that's a wrap. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Later.